is Saturday, October 25th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Pierce, celebrating the women today. Welcome one and all. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And today's show, well, when women make history. Just these past few years, the women in professional wrestling have done some really big things, and you know what, it's time to celebrate them. So we're gonna look at the quick early years and then really moving forward, look at what's been going down recently. But for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. Celebrations, you know, we got to look at the top champions today, and we're going to start with Starlight Kid. She is the current Wonder of Stardom champion. Starlight Kid and another woman on this list have been absolutely killing it this year. Starlight Kid has had her celebration. She's the leader of Neo Genesis, and she has been upping her game each and every moment she has stepped into the ring since coming over to New Japan. She has been partnering with both them and Stardom, and she has been able to involve herself with Mayu Iwatani, with Tam Nakano, with Saya Kamitana, and she has grown more and more and more, and she is currently the Wonder of Stardom champion with her first ring so far. She has been champion for 299 days. Number 4, Stephanie Vaquer, your current women's world champion on the Raw roster, has seen such an exponential growth since coming to the WWE after her amazing match with Mercedes Moné at Forbidden Door a few years ago. She got onto the WWE's radar with the span of two and a half years since joining the WWE. In NXT, she became the first ever woman to hold both the NXT Women's and the NXT Women's North American Championship. She's the only woman to be a dual champion in NXT. Then coming up to the main roster, within 1 year, she became the Women's World Champion. With the help of Booker T, she has gotten herself super over. Number 3, Athena, our forever champion. I would be remiss not to mention Athena. She just doesn't lose. Like, it's kind of crazy how far she's come since being the fallen goddess. She is your forever champion. She is your current Ring of Honor Women's Champion. She has held the championship for a total of 1,043 days and counting. She's been champion for almost 3 years. And every time you think she's going to lose, she doesn't. Athena is our forever champion. She can do serious, she can do funny, she can do it all. And now she's involved in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship. Number 2, Saya Kamitani. Ladies and gentlemen, there might not be another woman on this planet who is just at the top of their game, who's putting on banger after banger after banger and just growing and showing that, yeah, a quick change here and there and I can be great. If you compare Saya Kamitani to how she first started when she joined Stardom, it is night and day. She is your current World of Stardom champion, which is the top championship in Stardom for the singles, on the single side of things, and she has been champion for 299 days. She has gotten on so many people's radar, and it's shocking just to see the growth that she's had, putting on bangers with Starlight Kid and Azumi and Natsupe and Sori Imani and Maika and Suzy Suzuki. she's just great. She would probably be the top woman on this list if it wasn't for your CEO, Mercedes Moné. And ladies and gentlemen, it was obviously going to be her. She is your current TBS champion, and she's the longest reigning champion in the history of that championship, and at this point, the longest reigning champion in the history of AEW. But not only that, she is currently 12 belts, Mona. She holds 12 different championships, breaking the record held by the legendary Ultimo Dragon. What championships does she hold at the moment? She's your TBS champion. She was your Bestia women's champion, your Body Slam women's champion. She is your CMLL World Women's Champion. She is your Discovery Wrestling Women's Champion, the European Wrestling Association Women's Champion. She is your Primetime Wrestling Women's Champion. She's your Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Champion. She is also your Winnipeg Pro Wrestling Women's Champion. She is your winner of the Owen Hart Cup for this year. And two of the belts that she holds are defunct, but 12 belts Monet. Some of the belts that Ultimo Dragon held were defunct, but she is at the top of her game, wrestling all over the world, bringing a spotlight to independent wrestling, bringing a spotlight to the women. How can you hate her? That was hyperbole. We'll be right back. Light is bright and it's back and it's shining on the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship. Finally, the championships are coming forth. Something we have been absolutely clamoring for when it comes to AEW. Tony Khan announced these championships a few weeks ago, right before WrestleDream, and here we are. I think every division needs championships, singles, a world, a kind of a mid-card workhorse championship, and of course a tag team championship. And the women have finally gotten it. The thing I love about this is I'm pretty sure Tony Khan will be using this to not only bolster the women's roster, but to also have them defend these all across the world. AEW has a very strong women's division that has grown exponentially, and even though we only have 8 teams in this bracket, there are many more teams that will probably be featured from AEW itself, from Ring of Honor, from CMLL, from New Japan and Stardom. This is going to be excellent for them. And the bracket features many favorites, some standouts, and it's just excellent to see the growth of AEW in their women's division. Now it's all about the booking at the end of the day, but I think with Tony Storm there, I think with Mercedes Moné there, that they can always be in Tony Khan's ear to absolutely push this division. It's going to be really good, and we're going to talk more about this later in the show. But the spotlight this is a good one. This is a really good one, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, long gone are the days where the women in the world of professional wrestling stand pat and sit idly by while the men get all of the praise and all of the glory. That time is over. Today's show, when women make history. And you got to remember one thing: at the end of the day, when it comes to professional wrestling, the decisions boil down to 2 people: the owner of the company and the head booker, or who's ever in charge of creative, right? So the women, and we're just diving right into this, have long been a part of professional wrestling. And from the days of Wendy Richter and Fabulous Moolah to China to all of the top Joshis from the 60s and 70s, women's wrestling has been here. But it took a while for women's wrestling in America to be taken seriously. So there had to be an outcry for growth, for change. And we've had many shows where we talk about women's wrestling, where we talk about NXT and Give Divas a Chance, and how TNA really sparked the real women's revolution in America. And we're gonna talk about those a little bit more today, quick, because we've done shows on those. But we're gonna talk about really the history that has been made recently over these years. You know what I mean? So first we have to talk about the bad times, the past bad times. And we start with WWE's neglect. Now, outside of the Rock and Wrestling connection, you know what I mean? The women were nothing more than eye candy. That's how they were featured. But there have always been standouts, and the neglect was noticeable, right? There was Give Divas a Chance, which was the biggest by far outcry, where there was a tag match. I gotta remember this. It was the Bellas versus, I want to say, Paige and I think Emma. And their entrances, the combined time of their entrances to the ring were longer than the actual match. Think about that. That's not good. Now, like, that only really works when it is a squash match, but this wasn't a squash match. It's supposed to be a competitive match. Or Santino Marella winning the Divas Battle Royal. You know what I mean? That just doesn't sit right. And there's, we can't forget about the countless bra and panties matches and paddle matches and jelly matches and mud matches. So it's a lot. So the neglect was there. Then as we move over to Dixie Carter, I don't want to call it hate. I want to call it ignorance. We'll talk about this a little bit later, when the Knockouts division really got their start and was really growing, they were outshining the men. They were next to the X division, the top draw for TNA. And Dixie Carter didn't like that. The women were more popular than her. This is how you get involved when you have ego. Dixie Carter then just kind of downplay the knockouts, especially when she let Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff have the control and the reins of TNA. The knockouts weren't doing great, and it's all was because of Dixie Carter's ego. And lastly, it's women. So when you have women, you have misogyny. And because men at times just fucking suck, see the women nothing more than objects. There are still men today that see women nothing more than objects, especially women in professional wrestling or women that are just living their lives and being hated on. We'll definitely be talking about who later on in the show. And if you can't get rid of this inherent misogyny, how can there be any growth in women's wrestling? So we move over to the WWE and they up their game. We know, where we're going to start, and that's NXT. Triple H made his own little independent promotion. That's what we're gonna call it in NXT. And there he gave the woman strength. He gave the woman an outlet to be great and built an amazing women's roster. Off the top of my head, from the birth of NXT, let's say up into NXT 2.0, you had Paige, Emma, Liv Morgan, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, Toni Storm, Piper Niven, the Iconics, Nikki Cross, Mia Yim, Dakota Kai, Tegan Nox, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Zelina Vega, Blue Pants, and the obvious four horsewomen: Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, who were the backbone, the cruxes, the staples of NXT's women's division. And given the talent that they have, there was no wonder the division was growing, because we always go and look back at the legendary feud between Bayley and Asuka, so much to the point that they were the ones who got I believe the first women's main event in NXT history. And then there's Asuka, the Empress of Tomorrow. And why is she so important? Well, she was the one that broke Goldberg's undefeated streak. Goldberg's streak sat at, I believe, 178 matches. She went to that and beyond. Now, it was unceremoniously ended because Vince McMahon fed her to Charlotte Flair, but Asuka became the backbone, the standard of what women's wrestling can be in the WWE. Then we have the WrestleMania main events. Now, they haven't main evented a lot recently, but who can forget Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair main eventing WrestleMania, the first women's main event at WrestleMania. Now, yes, it should have been Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, but you know, Vince McMahon at the time has just this weird infatuation with Charlotte, where she has to be put into everything. And then let's not forget Sasha Banks and Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair also main event to WrestleMania. And in between that, the women were getting main events. Now, they haven't main evented a lot recently, but it's there. The precedent is there. And then lastly, Evolution. WWE, up to almost 10 years apart, put on 2 all-women's pay-per-views, and they were absolutely fantastic. The first one will always be remembered for that amazing TLC match between the Kabuki Warriors taking on Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And then this past Evolution, bro, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky just doing the damn thing. So the WWE has for a time made up for their neglect, for their misogyny. And then we move over to TNA, who really, ladies and gentlemen, started it all. Let no one tell you differently. TNA started the true women's revolution in North America, okay? Because creating that division, letting Gail Kim and Awesome Kong build to this legendary rivalry, which is probably one of the 5 greatest women's rivalries in professional wrestling, and then letting that expand to the rest of the knockouts with the beautiful people who carry that division, and Roxy Laveau becoming the really first true hardcore knockout, Christy Hemme getting her legs to shine, Taryn Terrell becoming just a fantastic addition to TNA, and ODB and Tracy Brooks and Taylor Wilde. Like, the TNA knockouts did so much for women's wrestling in America. It cannot be understated. And then I'd be remiss not to mention ECW and the history that made, in the fact that Paul Heyman gave the woman an opportunity to not only wrestle, even though it wasn't a lot, but to get into it with the men. Who can forget the legendary match between Beulah McGillicuddy and Bill Alfonso. The blood that was just shed, and allowing Francine and Elektra and so many other women who get their time. Lita got her start in ECW. So I'd be remiss not to mention them, and just how they have had that blueprint of the hardcore of professional wrestling in North America. But then we get to today and the history that is made today. And we start with Athena, the fallen goddess. So what is the history about for Athena? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Athena is the current Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Not only is she the current Ring of Honor Women's Champion, she is the longest reigning champion in the history of Ring of Honor. Longest champion in general. She has been women's champion for 1,043 days and counting. She has held the belt for over 3 years. She's also the current holder of the Women's Casino Gauntlet contract. So think about that. This woman who came into Ring of Honor and became such an amazing part of that company. She has devoted herself to helping elevate Ring of Honor and becoming that long champion. It's absolutely fantastic to see how far she's progressed, and she's able to do it all, the funny, the seriousness, and just to put on banger after banger after banger. Speaking of long reigning women's champions, we have to talk about Camille and Kenzie Page. Now, Kenzie Page and Camille are both a part of the NWA, a legendary wrestling promotion that is still going on today. And they were both Women's World Champion. And this belt has history. Camille was champion for 802 days. She then lost the championship to Kenzie Page, who was champion for 720 days. They hold two of the longest reigns in women's professional wrestling today. Now, mind you, they haven't broken the longest reign record, which is held by, I believe, Mischief. Mischief's reign lasted 818 days, and there's someone else who had a long reign. Oh, the longest held by the legendary Jazz, who reign lasted 948 days, and she had to relinquish that championship due to medical and personal reasons. But today, women having reigns that long is unheard of. The WWE doesn't even have women hold championships for that long. And then we get to Tessa Blanchard. Yes, she carries a spotty track record, but she's working on redeeming herself. And the thing about Tessa Blanchard is she became the TNA World Champion. A woman held the top championship in a promotion. Now you could say, well, what about Lucha Underground? Lucha Underground was more so a television show about wrestling, whereas the WWE is a wrestling show that's on TV. But TNA took the chance, took the time and opportunity to elevate Tessa Blanchard and to give her the world championship, and it worked. The story leading up to her win, I believe, defeating Sami Callihan, was beautiful. The aftermath of that, for the beginning, was beautiful. Now, obviously, it didn't end so well because Tessa Blanchard has always been her own worst enemy. But at that time, unheard of. And it was a great story, and it was, more importantly, it was believable. I can't believe this, was a great babyface underdog. It kind of just worked for her. Then we have the man, Becky Lynch. Whoa. Oh. Well, the man is coming around. Now, Becky Lynch has been the ultimate catalyst for professional wrestling in the WWE. She's at the top. Yes, Rhea Ripley's at the top, but Becky Lynch will always, always, always be at the top until she retires, because when the man was born, better yet, let's not even start with the man. Let's start with her being fed to Charlotte Flair. Carmella was the first ever women's Money in the Bank winner, right? Cashed in, became champion, had a fine reign. I miss Carmella. She was to defend the championship against Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair, as always, came back from injury, was given a title shot. She had to win a match to get a title shot, which she never earned. She then won the match at SummerSlam, defeating Carmella and Becky. Becky punched her because it was wrong. It was wrong for Charlotte to be in this match. And they wanted to do a heel turn for Becky Lynch, but it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. The fans wanted to be behind her because, well, they knew Becky got screwed. And we fast forward to Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series and the invasion on Raw. Nia Jax with an errant punch broke Becky's nose, and Becky in that crowd, standing with her arms out, nose bleeding, one of the most iconic shots in professional wrestling. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the man was born. She went on to win multiple world championships. She's the first ever woman to be both women's world champion and intercontinental champion. So she's already close to being she's already a Grand Slam champion, but if we start with the new championships, will be even a bigger Grand Slam champion. She's been both good and bad and can just do it all. Now, you can say she's not the best in-ring worker when it comes to the four horsewomen, because I do think Sasha and Charlotte are better than the ring, but that's not to downplay her skill. She's fantastic in the ring. But Becky Lynch, the man, has been just the standard bearer at this point in the WWE. And we move over to AEW with Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander is the current AEW Women's World Champion, right? She is also the first woman to be both TBS champion and women's champion. She's an AEW original, and her reign just started. And she's going to be defending the championship with another woman who we're going to talk about just a little in just a few moments. And that's where the history is made. And I truly believe that Chris will probably end up being the first woman to be both AEW champion, TBS champion, and women's tag team champion, because we know where her reign is going to go. Well, we believe we know. Her versus Willow, the forever feud, the friends, enemies, and they will end up being tag team champions at some point. But Chris is making history right now. Then we move over to CMLL's recent show. CMLL's recent all-women show was the most attended, highest grossing women's wrestling show in North American history, beating both evolutions. And the card, fantastic. The main event, Persephone versus Mercedes Moné, excellent. Because CMLL knows wrestling, they love wrestling, they adore wrestling, they respect the history of professional wrestling. So that show, seeing how it came together, seeing what it did, absolutely beautiful. And you got to see a mixture of just different wrestling styles, technical and hardcore and just fighting and strong style and lucha. Like, CMLL is the world's oldest professional wrestling company, and they're not going anywhere. And then we have the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship. The bracket has been announced, and something we've been clamoring for from AEW. Give the women their due. Listen, as much as I love AEW, the two things holding it back is, one, not having a tag team championship for the women's division, but two, not featuring them more on Dynamite. One match per week on Dynamite is not great. You can do 2 matches on Dynamite. You can do 2-3 matches on Collision, multiple segments. The fans want to see the women. They want to see the woman. You have such an amazing, talented roster that you cross over the Ring of Honor, who has a great roster, and they're about to make their history with their third singles. I forgot about that. They're about to break history with their third singles title and the Women's Pure Championship. Let me stop with the technical title real quick. Ring of Honor, ladies and gentlemen, Athena. And then you got the Women's World Television Championship, and now you have the Pure Championship. I don't think they need the Pure Championship, but that's 3 singular titles for this promotion. Ring of Honor is just out here. Yes, they need their own show, like a weekly show, so you don't have to tape before and after Dynamite and Collision, but they're doing the damn thing over there, and that tournament is ongoing for the Pure Championship. And then we move over back to the World Tag Team titles in AEW, and the bracket is as follows. Queen Aminata and Jamie Hayter will be taking on the Sisters of Sin, obviously. Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron will be taking on Mercedes Moné and Athena. Hurts my heart because I think Mercedes and Athena are going to win. On the opposite side, you have Alex Windsor and Riho taking on Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. We know how that's going to go. And we have Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford taking on Tay-J. So there's going to be an upset somewhere, ladies and gentlemen, because it would be so dishonorable for Tay-J to lose in the first round, but they're going up against Megan Bayne. See, that's the thing. That's the one thing Tony, I can't agree with. You put the two bona fide tag teams in the first round against each other. That sucks. But I am hoping we're going to crown the first champions at Full Gear, because I will be there in attendance. This is a good bracket, and yes, there are only 8 teams, but there are many more teams that are in AEW is lurking around, like the Renegade Twins. Like who else? Who else is there? Like you can always put Ty Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo back together, and I'm very sure these titles will be featured in CMLL, in Rev Pro, in New Japan, in Stardom with their sister promotions. This is great. And then we end, ladies and gentlemen, with none other than the CEO, Mercedes Moné. You knew we were going to end with her. How could we not end with her, right? Mercedes Moné is the current AEW TBS champion. She is also 12 belts Moné, breaking the record held by Ultimo Dragon, as she is holding 12 championships. She's probably going to end up holding more. Now, when you mention Mercedes Moné, there's always some type of hate towards her because, well, she bettered herself. She told the WWE to kick rocks. She's not going to disrespect me. You're not going to keep feeding me to Charlotte Flair. I'm going to go bet on myself. And that's exactly what she did. Roles in Star Wars, championships around the world, music. I can't think of another person in wrestling who has done so much by betting on himself besides her. It's probably just Cody Rhodes. But here she is in this, upstart t-shirt company called All Elite Wrestling, just putting on a great show. Now, yes, the one thing that she's never been great at, that she really needs to work on, is the mic work. It's there. It's just sometimes it's stilted, but there's no denying her in-ring work, ladies and gentlemen. There's no denying the passion and the love that she has for this industry, for this business, because, well, you see what she's doing. This past 2 weeks ago, she wrestled 3 matches at 3 different companies for 3 different championships and won all of them. She's elevating women's wrestling. She's elevating the independent scene. And there are people that want to discredit her and discredit that, and that just sucks. Mercedes Moné is it. She's already top 5, in my opinion, dead or alive. And when her career is over and done with, she probably will end up being the greatest of all time. And there's no denying that. You can't take that from her. Women's wrestling is here to stay. Look, I can tell you this right now. I have more favorite women's wrestlers than male wrestlers. I just if you ask me, yeah, Jeremy, who's your favorite wrestler today? It's Willow Nightingale. You ask me to name all my favorite men's wrestlers, I can probably give you 10. You ask me to name my favorite women's wrestlers, I can give you at least 20 to 30. Women's wrestlers is great. And the thing is, I'm learning more and more. So like I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I watch kind of NXT, and then I keep up with the independent scene, and I keep up with the other promotions. And like I recently discovered Saya Kamitana, right? And I'm seeing the beautiful work that Suri has been doing all year, and the love I have for Mayu Iwatani, and over in CMLL, Persephone, just wow, and Bozilla. And that's why I'm happy with the AEW, because it's giving these women a platform. So I'm just happy, and we're in a great position. We're seeing the women make history. And I didn't even mention NXT TNA. Kalani Jordan, an NXT wrestler, is holding the TNA Knockouts Championship. Jordan Grace has been just excellent. You know what I mean? Toni Storm has probably the greatest women's feud ever in the history of professional wrestling. I'm talking about over Gail and Kong, over Gail and Taryn, over Sasha and Bailey, over Charlotte and Becky. The Hollywood ending is classic, and it needs to be studied. Women's wrestling ain't going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can get on board. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up for the rest of the month. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course, the 215 on Twitter. And as always, Anna J, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Isla Dawn, Bailey, Priscilla Kelly. Holla at your boy. Peace.